Bitcoin breaks all-time highs across most major currencies, and crypto market rallies overall. We discuss what is actually happening, why prices are going so crazy in our collective Shift weekly recap, actionable insights, and a breakdown into the crypto market, all in under 30 minutes. As always, we'll kick things off with a quick market update, but looking forward to getting into a lot more in this action-packed episode as I'm joined here by Nick. But yes, for anyone who has been living under a rock, Bitcoin has jumped to all-time highs across a lot of different currencies, Australian dollar, the euro, and many other major ones last week. And it is getting within 5 to 10% of US dollar all-time highs as well. It's not just Bitcoin that's really having a great time. We've seen ETH jump to its highest price in nearly 2 years. It's around $3,500 US, and same with Solana hitting its highest price in nearly 2 years as well, at about $130 US. So yeah, it's been now officially 6 straight months of upward price action for Bitcoin. So a streak that we haven't seen since 2021, and this was definitely the largest of those 6 months. Definitely came in February. So a lot of momentum all of a sudden coming back into the crypto market, and yeah, looking forward to getting into why. As we've covered, Nick, a lot over recent weeks, this Bitcoin ETF, demand has just been, off the charts and blowing past a lot of people's expectations. We saw even more sort of news and excitement around Bitcoin ETFs in the past week or so. What have you got for us this week?
Yeah, you're right, Matt. I think it's blown everybody's expectations out the water. And we only are seeing more of these large, asset managers, banks start to offer these services. So now we're seeing Bank of America's associated entity, Miral, as well as giant Wells Fargo, that are looking to offer its, Bitcoin ETFs to some of their top clients. This was a report that came out of Decrypt, a crypto news site, but a few more signs that not all of these asset managers are actually on board yet. That's something that I think is underestimated in the market, that, we're seeing these large inflows, but it's actually not due to all of the asset managers supporting Bitcoin, which is kind of hope that there may be more capital then to enter if we start to see Bitcoin ETF supported by even more of these asset managers. I know Vanguard was one of the ones that notoriously didn't support Bitcoin ETFs, and we saw their CEO controversially, step aside. Whether or not that was actually due to Bitcoin, leaves a lot to be desired there. Some will like to conflate that, but at the end of the day, some of these big asset managers are starting to support it now. Maybe they were waiting for confirmation, that there was demand for this sort of stuff. So now, even I think we're seeing another giant, Morgan Stanley, looking to consider Bitcoin ETFs to their clients. So I think in the coming months, we're only going to see acceleration of these bigger names start to feel comfortable and offer these services, which I think is pretty positive for the market if we thinking that the ETF demand was so high, and this isn't actually all of the capital and interest and clients that are able to get exposure to this stuff just yet. So a lot to look forward to in the coming months with more additions and more support for Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah, you've nailed it there. I think over the weeks and months ahead, you'll continue to see headlines, most likely that, hey, insert name of big bank here has opened support for the Bitcoin ETFs, and that constant sort of trickle of news, I think, will keep Bitcoin and crypto sort of in the public sort of mind frame, or the mind share of the public will really continue to be there for crypto, let alone all the other factors. Not just to do with this Bitcoin ETF support, but it's definitely a nice to have for sure. And yeah, that is something that I have learnt over the past few days, Nick, as well, that I think I actually did read something that it's actually the majority of capital that is able to invest in Bitcoin, like through these ETFs in the US. The majority of that, I think it was maybe in the wealth advisors category. Apologies if that's incorrect. It was one of those sort of categories, at least in the US. They said the majority still is not able to access these ETFs because, they would need these larger wire houses and these larger banks to approve it first. So yeah, that was really surprising for me. So again, the takeaway really here is just as you said, going to be more demand here for Bitcoin ETFs, once this does come through. And something I've been thinking about too with this, is I don't know about what your thoughts are, but I think just the reputation of the Bitcoin sort of identity now is this thing that's sort of like gold, but it's scarce and whatnot. I think it's viewed a lot more these days as a long-term asset. So I'm interested to see how fleeting this demand is for these ETFs in terms of the holder base of these ETFs. My bullish case and something that I'm getting a lot more optimistic about is I'm hoping that a lot of these new, unit holders of these ETFs are really just, a set and forget sort of play with their Bitcoin, just getting exposure to it and then just putting it away for many years. So I don't know, that's something I've been thinking more about over the last week or so, and hopefully they can sort of have that mind share of not just sort of punting on Bitcoin and selling it during a bull market or whatnot. But just some food.
We've definitely seen, I think even Bitwise were teasing their allocations that they were suggesting, and we're probably going to see that become more common in the coming years, especially if we start to see big names such as Vanguard come out against Bitcoin. If we start to see that flip, we start to see them introduce Bitcoin, that's just a huge legitimizing figure. And especially as people are doing really the returns on having Bitcoin in that portfolio. I saw there's lots of good analysis BlackRock did that just said it's probably riskier not to have it, than to have it at this point at that small percentage. So that narrative is also really interesting, and look forward to hearing more about whether we're going to see maybe Bitcoin start to get more legitimacy in that digitally gold aspect.
Yeah, well said. We've got another big event from last week amid all the mania with the crypto market was Coinbase, one of the largest exchanges out there. Always getting an influx of traffic during a surge in just interest in crypto. We had the CEO Brian Armstrong coming out in response to what was essentially an outage of the app. The app was sort of inaccessible for a while, and Brian Armstrong came out and said they had been testing a surge of volume and just doing different capacity sort of testing and performance testing on the app. And he said they had tested for a maximum of sort of 10x a surge of traffic, and they said their testing had sort of passed that. So he was more or less indicating that the rush of, and he did actually say the rush of traffic was more than their tests, so implying there that there was a 10x sort of increase in just users coming back onto the platform all at once. And it was enough to sort of take down, one of the oldest and most well-capitalized sort of exchanges in the world. It was quite remarkable and brought me back to, the old peak of the bull market there. Nick, I'm not sure if you saw that one.
Yeah, it was one of the things that you always look for when you're gauging the market is when these major exchanges start to go down or experience technical difficulties, because we saw in the past bull markets, it's a trend that always happens. They maybe underestimate the interest that, and everyone just comes at once. I think it really shows just how much attention can shift and just how rapidly I think attention moves back. And you got a really good figure that's displayed right now, which looks at Coinbase's ranking in the App Store, which is often a really good indicator to look for retail interest. And we're seeing that it was kind of like in almost 500 or so at the start of the year. And this has rapidly increased in the last couple of weeks, hitting, I think, about 125 in the App Store. Now it slightly went back down. So it's a good data point to show that, hey, even Coinbase has went down, but still pretty early. Like, we haven't seen it hit the highs that it did in the last bull market. So there's still a lot of room there for, I think, retail to come back, even though we're seeing a bit of what's to come now.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even those really basic, broader sentiment metrics, the Google search volume, again, there's always, you can get nitpicky with this stuff where people are always like, oh, how many people are actually, searching what is Bitcoin or, Bitcoin on Google? Because I feel like a lot of the world now at least has a rough sort of understanding of more or less what it is. However, we are still seeing that sort of strong uptick in Bitcoin on Google Trends, in the past week or so. And those app download ones are also very good to to measure. Like there's always, again, that nitpicky argument of, oh, well, a lot of the users probably already have downloaded the app. Therefore, like these are just new users. But again, you sort of just had that in mind. You don't, we really encourage people always over the years, Nick and I, as well as other team members, never to read too much into any individual metric. But once you get a real blend of them, it can honestly help you so much just gauge where we are in the current cycle. One more just off the top of my head that I did see over the weekend, which I don't know, was a bit surprising to me, was that the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, which is one of the most widely referenced sentiment metrics in the industry, has been for 6-7 years. It's actually at all-time highs, so even higher than, even a higher score than obviously those November 2021 just complete euphoria of the market. So that one is a strong signal of just how quickly things have changed. But yeah, we will definitely keep covering this as this bull market continues, Nick, because in a asset class so young and just without any really metrics that you can confidently value these things on, sentiment, for better or worse, has a really, really strong impact over the crypto market.
Yeah, I reckon another one that is a good point here for sentiment is activity with meme coins.
Hey, yeah.
The last bull market, we always see interest come back to meme coins in a really big way. That's probably another one you look for in that handbook of like metrics to gauge retail interest. So I saw the top, I think, 10 performing cryptocurrencies this week. I think 6 of them were meme coins. So I think they were like, I think 6 of them, dog and frog coins. So frogs are getting in on the action. It really shows that maybe that appetite or maybe that greed or interest back into crypto. But it's all about the dogs. I don't know why, Matt, but why is it never a cat meme? I don't know why.
I know, true, actually. I haven't thought of that. It's always frogs and dogs, but never cats. And even just bringing up, collectiveshift.io/assets, I'm really interested to see, just toggling it by 24%. Probably if you did it 7 days, it'd be more telling, but you'll see a lot of, meme coins popping in here, even like the bigger, more larger cap ones like Pepe and even Bonk, even Memecoin itself. Just honestly, going through the numbers, it is quite a stark reminder of how quickly things can change in the crypto market. And meme coins, for anyone who's really new to crypto, meme coins are essentially just, they kind of are what they sound like. They're just almost cultural coins. Like they're just the value of a certain meme, honestly, like, or a certain community that sort of bands together around a common idea or something like that. Doge was probably the one that really made headlines in the last bull market. And that's still pretty relevant today, I'd say, in the crypto market. But whenever you see meme coins really surging, it's another strong indicator of what stage we sort of are at in the market. They tend to perform the best, but they also tend to, as a whole sector, that is, individually, like it's really, a lot of it is throwing a dart really at the dartboard. However, they tend to perform the worst when the market corrects. So it's sort of that asymmetric, opportunity there. And it's really bizarre in a way to see how quickly things have changed, where you go through the top 200 by market cap, Nick, and I would have to say there's probably 5 to 10, maybe even more meme coins now these days in the top 200. So yeah, quite a big shift that's happened in the past, I want to say 6 months or so.
I did see Bonk, apparently it increased in market cap higher than I think Sui and Sei blockchains. So you're having a case where some of these meme coins are just continually to outperform and have a higher market capitalization, than some of these new L1s, which is a really interesting concept.
Yeah, there you go. So we did see news last week of like Robinhood Europe sort of listing one of the top meme coins, and speculation over will Elon Musk, start tweeting about Doge again like he did, in previous bull markets, and supporting payments maybe on X and whatnot. You'll see that speculation all come. I suppose if you're missing out on all these meme coin gains, I don't really think it's nothing to get too upset about, for a better term, because every month you'll see in this bull market, honestly, probably shorter than a month, even every week sometimes at the craziest times, you'll see different sectors go strongly outperform the market. this last week or two, it happened to be meme coins. That may continue for a bit. However, every sector will go through its own little period of outperformance. That's typically what you see. It might not happen in this bull market, but I'm certainly expecting at least most sectors to go through a bit of a period where they're sort of under the spotlight and everyone's talking about them. This is actually a fun one, Nick, to sort of wrap this one off here. Memecoin Investing, is this something that you have seen? I think once people sort of start to talk about it, I think it's a sign that things are maybe getting to a top. But I guess, what are your thoughts on people who just have all their portfolio in meme coins and they try to dedicate themselves to be full-time meme coin traders or investors?
Yeah, it's an interesting concept because it's kind of not that it's actually pretty common for some of these even VC funds that I'm looking that you're seeing they're even talking about, or will actively be accumulating positions in meme coins, which is crazy to think about. Kind of sounds a bit ridiculous. In a way, it probably is, but I think it's just more of this idea that meme coins represent fun. In bull markets. A lot more activity happens in them, and inevitably they do increase at quite dramatic rates and higher than a lot of other cryptocurrencies in the space. So I'm just seeing a lot of VCs, even a lot of very reputable people. Even I saw there was a tweet from one of the founders of Blockworks. One of his categories that he was getting into was meme coins, having an allocation to meme coins. So it's actually quite a common thing that you underestimate, that, people in the bull market see meme coins as fun, and they actually will have a small meme coin, little side stack, because they inevitably know that, whether it's good or bad, whether it's good for the space or not, they will increase, and a lot of activity does translate to them, especially when the euphoria is there in the market.
Yeah. No, well said. I think people who have some percentage in them, for example, I've got a small amount of my portfolio in them, but I also am it could definitely go to zero. And if that happened, I'd be willing to just accept that. However, in bull markets, look, you don't know what could happen. So I've just got some there just in case, but not really expecting it to do extremely well. I definitely am more of a fundamentals sort of driven person who is a bit more longer term. But yeah, in bull markets, really decisions up to you of really what you want to get involved in or whatnot. Back to sort of things that are, I guess, affecting the broader crypto market, and this is one that's been going on for a while, but it looks like things might be coming to an end here, Nick, with regards to Genesis, the crypto lender that went bankrupt a year or two ago.
Yeah, they finally, I saw in the news last week, the New York State Department of Financial Services, they had a settlement with Gemini, who was affected by the Genesis bankruptcy. Essentially, Gemini had their own customers who were earning yield. They used Genesis for that yield. And when they went bankrupt, essentially, they had about $1 billion that they couldn't return to their customers. So, the New York Department of Financial Services, they essentially had a partnership or agreement with Gemini to return 100% of Gemini earned assets, equated to about $1.1 billion. So if Gemini does follow through with these payments, it's just a major grade cloud for its customers, a lot more capital that is basically returned to retail investors, and it's a great cloud that hopefully Gemini and Genesis can walk away from without any major acceleration or difficulties. Because I know if we saw Gemini go down, they were a big exchange, that would just be another sort of downside catalyst that would negatively impact not only the crypto in a fundamental way, but just the optics of another exchange, another big name, unable to return customer assets, which would be a really big blow just to the reputation of the industry, which is already kind of trying to recover from FTX. Yeah,
that's it. It's good to have another area of risk and uncertainty sort of coming to a close, hopefully. And I think we've got still the CZ trial, I think maybe coming up in the next, in the first half of this year, or at least starting. That's probably another area of risk. There's always uncertainty around Tron and Tether and whatnot, but I must say that list of uncertainty has definitely shrunk significantly. It's something we're always, Nick and myself and the team, always trying to at least have one eye sort of on the potential bearish cases that could maybe affect the market, because obviously they're always there, often not as prominent or visible as what you are often think about, as we saw definitely in the credit crisis of 2022. But we'll move on to definitely something that in the altcoin space from the past week or so was all over the news. And I guess we have been talking about ETH Denver, I suppose 2 weeks ago, sort of just putting it on our viewers and listeners sort of radars. And we speculated that there could be quite a few announcements coming out of ETH Denver, and that's definitely what happened. For anyone who doesn't know, we might just link to the ETH Denver YouTube channel. I did just want to give that a bit of a shout out because there is hundreds of videos actually over the course of the past week that have been uploaded to the ETH Denver YouTube channel. Often the talks and panel discussions are about 20 to 30 minutes each. Honestly, on the weekend, I probably went through maybe 15 or so, just like a lot of them I just had on like 2x speed, just to pick up like some certain like key themes and whatnot. I've got a few others that I do want to watch, obviously more slowly and more thoroughly. But yeah, a lot of the key themes that I did see at ETH Denver, which again, for anyone unaware, is just one of the largest events in the Ethereum industry or Ethereum space every year. But then there's also other blockchains that have started to sort of join in on ETH Denver as well. The key themes that I kept seeing coming up again were sort of restaking, which is sort of unsurprising. All the hype around EigenLayer and what use cases that could enable was definitely another big sort of talking point. Monad, again, this is an early stage project that we've been covering for Collective Shift members. And it's one that I have high on my list in terms of just airdrop farming and whatnot. A lot of hype around that and sort of parallel EVMs just in general. And then also, obviously, I think, Nick, this would be unsurprising to everyone listening to this as well, that AI and crypto, sort of the convergence of those two things and what crypto and AI can do, two very big buzzwords, really. But there was a lot of excitement from everything I saw about, potential overlap between AI and crypto. Was there anything you sort of picked up on, or was it mostly those categories?
One of the major, takeaways was, the roll-up ecosystem and that L2 ecosystem that are building on top of Ethereum. I didn't really see too much in terms of years past where the focus was building these L2s. Now it's the anchor is shifted now to these applications and, doubling down the use cases now. So it's kind of my big takeaway was just that kind of the roll up and L2 ecosystem is more ready than it's ever been. And there's less focus on the core infrastructure to build it. And now it's all about sort of fine tuning these roll ups and kind of just onboarding the next wave of users now, especially as we have the next major Ethereum upgrade, which is very beneficial for these L2s. Yeah,
for sure. We saw Coinbase's Base have a big presence at ETH Denver, sort of trying to encourage people to use more of the apps and through their Coinbase wallet, had a bit of an initiative there, which got very popular. But yeah, another L2, speaking of trying to get more users out there and to use these L2s was Arbitrum. So one of the biggest sort of announcements out of ETH Denver was Arbitrum teaming up with Robinhood. So obviously one of the more popular trading apps out there. And Arbitrum basically is teaming up to simplify access to their layer 2, networks like Arbitrum, obviously, and then maybe in future even chains building on Arbitrum. So that's going to be enabled for all Coinbase wallet users. Again, the benefit there, just a lot cheaper transactions, as well as faster transactions as well. So yeah, that was one of the highlights. And yeah, I'm keen to. I'm sure it'll probably roll out in the US. Not sure if it'll come out internationally, but yeah, we'll see. But a good announcement there from Arbitrum.
Probably, yeah, the other major, altcoin update I saw was Blast and launched during ETH Denver. So this was a major event that I think everyone was looking forward to. Blast is just another Ethereum L2 that's built on Ethereum. And they kind of garnered a lot of attention last year for kind of launching and taking a lot of funds to deposit without a fundamental product yet. So everyone was waiting, looking at this amount of TVL that's increased. I think it went up to about $2 billion worth of value was locked in something that wasn't even live yet. So a lot of people were just wondering, bit of worries, hopefully that the team were delivering, and we'll finally get that mainnet. So that happened at ETH Denver, and it really moved quickly to become the third highest TBL layer 2, in the Ethereum ecosystem. So a lot to like, and I think everyone's going to be watching whether Blast will challenge the likes of Optimism, because Optimism's probably more noted for its DeFi ecosystem, whereas probably has the most overlap with Blast. So that's one area I'm looking forward to see how they're going to go, whether people withdraw now that they've kind of got their points for depositing early, and how much value will stay in the Blast ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. I know they put some quite intense, gaming mechanics in terms of, really making it harder for people psychologically to leave the bridge. I know it comes up with some warning messages of, you're going to lose all your points and all of that. It's quite a good example of just gaming or gamifying all of the experience of using Blast. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the traction is over the weeks ahead. In terms of things to look forward to, of course, maybe by the time this goes out, next week we'll have Ethereum's big upgrade, Denkun. So it's its biggest upgrade in about a year, and we've talked about this at length in the past few months. I know Nick's got a member post coming out pretty soon, just going through what he's expecting, and how he's going to be basically assessing the success of Denkun as well. So something to look forward to for sure. In terms of just the rapid fire, sort of underappreciated or overappreciated, I didn't see much conversation about this, given all the hype about Blast launching and ETH Denver and just the price action in general. But Marathon Digital, which is a publicly listed sort of Bitcoin miner, they announced their own Bitcoin sidechain. So coming out here, calling it Anduro, so Anduro, and saying that it will allow the creation of multiple Bitcoin sidechains and serve as a programmable application layer. So funnily enough, at ETH Denver, one of the other sort of key themes was Bitcoin L2s, which is, again, just another sign of how much this has infiltrated just the mindshare of the whole crypto space. We've talked a lot about, Bitcoin layer 2's ecosystem and all this ecosystem of side chains, more or less just things being built on top of Bitcoin. DeFi use cases, probably meme coins, to be honest. Ordinals we've seen just continuing to rip to all-time highs in the past few weeks. There's a lot of developer excitement and activity, importantly, as well as venture activity. So investment rounds being closed by Bitcoin L2 and Bitcoin sidechains, as well as now Marathon Digital announcing their own. So I don't think this trend is going away anytime soon. And I think it will be a big sort of theme coming out of 2024 and even into 2025 as well. So excited for sure to see what the future holds for building on top of Bitcoin. But we'll keep the theme on Bitcoin. I know you've got one here, Nick, in terms of what happened in the past week, overappreciated, underappreciated.
Yeah, I got two small ones with a focus here on the, external environment that cryptocurrency is operating in. So Bitcoin miners had a small win because they were facing the US Energy Information Administration, who basically said that, hey, Bitcoin miners are operating in the US. You've got to survey yourselves. You've got to report to us with extensive requirements on what you're doing and how you're using that energy. And a lot of the industry was pretty uproared about that being an overstep. We don't really see that in other industries as much. And so we had a bit of a win there with one of the courts saying that, hey, you really not in your scope to ask Bitcoin miners to do that. And then secondly, we saw a broader positive moment for the industry with a kind of really controversial US House bill that's coming in, which looks at removing a certain point that allows banks not to easily hold cryptocurrency assets as easily. It's something called SAB 121. It sounds really confusing, but essentially it's this little nuanced law that makes it really difficult for banks to hold cryptocurrency. So this passed, I think, one of the House Financial Committees in the US, and it's a kind of a step forward in removing this barrier. And once that barrier is gone, it should make it easier for banks in the US to engage in crypto services. So that's one major thing I'm looking for, which still probably doesn't capture the limelight, very much underappreciated just because it's a very nuanced thing, but it's a very very important kind of step forward for the industry. And I suspect personally that once this is removed, once more legitimacy comes with the way of more Bitcoin ETFs, then we may see some big banks start then to follow Europe's entry into custodying and providing more native cryptocurrency access to their customers, which at the moment is only really reserved for ETFs.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nick. It's definitely one that I've barely seen anyone talk about, and that could be really exciting moving forward. And even just finishing something to look forward to as well that we've been watching closely that we might share here with listeners is just this Coinbase versus SEC lawsuit. I've started to see some whispers around social media that maybe the judge has approved the application by Coinbase to dismiss the whole lawsuit itself. They are just rumors at this stage, but if that happens, wow, I would fully expect altcoins in particular to go on a dramatic sort of rise in response to that news. It is just a rumor though, so I'm not acting on any of that at the moment, but we have been waiting for this dismissal, a decision to be made about this dismissal. That is whether the lawsuit goes ahead, which is probably the most, I would say, normal thing to happen. Otherwise, the judge might actually be like, hey, you know what, Coinbase, you're right. You shouldn't actually be allowed to be sued by the SEC. So that's something I'm really watching closely. There isn't a date when it's known for the judge. It's really just on their own schedule. The judge will decide when to actually make an announcement on that. But if that happens in this market environment and it is an approval to dismiss the whole lawsuit, wow, I think that would definitely have an effect on the markets. But we will see. We'll see what happens. But until then, that is a wrap for this week. Hope you are enjoying what is the start of the bull market. But just a reminder to always have a plan if you are invested. Have a plan and follow that plan, and don't try to get influenced by outside factors as well. That's a lot of lessons that have been learnt over the years the hard way. But one way to sort of keep you on the right track, of course, is to just keep up to date with our weekly Shift newsletter. So that is providing you with free market insights straight to your inbox every Friday. So you can subscribe there at collectiveshift.io/newsletter. That's collectiveshift.io/newsletter.